is Brain Rot Bambi the Clown, and today we're going to talk about how to be optimistic and correct at the same time. I'm really tired of honest doomers and manipulative optimists controlling the narrative, because the truth is that your future can be poggers, and you gotta stop worrying about the world, babe, because it was actually never good out there, and it never will be, because the earth is harsh, and it's humans that are good. You are a bubble of goodness, of positive potential, and you're being distracted by the fact that, there's a couple new plausible ways to die now? Well, okay, there's also less because the lions are going extinct. Good riddance. I mean, did you expect you'd get to choose our flavor of apocalypse? Did you think that Armageddon was just pretty biblical poetry and not written by humans with plans? The elites have always been planning the apocalypse because none of us want to be here whenever the sun eats the earth. I can't even really blame them for making sure that this all ends well before then. The real fearmongers out there are what I'm calling post-apocalypticists. Post-apocalypticists are people who say this will never really end. They're usually very academic, so committing to a proper apocalypse narrative would be very embarrassing for them. If you're an academic, you can't actually believe in anything because believing is unscientific, unprofessional, childish, low IQ commoner behavior, according to them. Post-apocalypticists say humanity will survive everything, becoming more wretched and grotesque with each passing century. Maybe it'll start with AI enslavement, and then planetary resource exhaustion, and then Brian Johnson never dying, and then before you know it, we're in Warhammer 40k, somehow spreading our misery across the whole galaxy, and still there are poor families laboring day in and day out, and they're victim to new apocalyptic narratives about hive mind aliens, and that's why the government can't feed them, because the government has to feed the hive mind alien fighting super soldiers. So the stakes get higher and higher, and the rich get older and older, and war can never kill all of us cockroaches. It just reduces our access to education and birth control, counterintuitively increasing the human population infinitely. And I don't know if we're gonna get the apocalypse or the post-apocalypse, but I sure do know it's not up to me. And I, for one, don't have to worry about never dying because I'm lucky to not be in that tax bracket. I get to worry about more fun things like love and what I'm gonna do for my friends' birthdays and why my CIA boyfriend has to work remote even though all of his buddies get to go on fun international trips for their assignments. There are these people in the Silicon Valley of Tears called effective altruists, and they're mostly kind-hearted nerds, but they are the most ineffective at altruism type people I have ever witnessed. They're LARPing as world savers, but they're just trying to move money around to dodge Judgment Day. They're kind of boring core, like doing math and changing things incrementally and marginally in a way that no one notices. But the more you dodge Judgment Day like that, the more time hell has to leak into the mortal plane, and I fear that they are manifesting the post-apocalypse. I am so sick and tired of altruists and philanthropists advocating for the infinite suffering of an infinite humanity that never gets to go out as God or my Etsy witch intends. And to be clear, I'm not trying to end the world. I really, really like humanity. I'm just advocating to stop trying to save the world, because trying to save the world is how every historically accurate villain arc starts. Everyone I've known who's tried to save the world either ends up a political mastermind orchestrating continental psyops for the greater good before Russia does it, before China does it, or these prospective world savers end up basement dwellers arguing with Twitter bots all day about like regenerative farming. They're completely tunnel visioned on curing greater humanity of all of its ills that they've forgotten about local humanity. If you are a disenlightened utilitarian consequentialist type person trying to reduce human suffering at scale, stop worrying about who who should get gender affirming care and who should pay for it, and try calling your mom, you idiot. She'll scale the happiness for you. It'll improve the quality of her entire week and the week of her dog by proxy. You might be thinking, but Bambi, it's more important right now than ever to educate everyone about everything because we're living in unprecedented times. Yeah, that's how time works. It's why Pocahontas loves rivers. But she gets in the river. She gets in the river. And that's the Disney princess wisdom that I don't think you're getting. You can't let the craziness of the world stop you from, like, living in it. Finding joy in the little things. You know, it's not something that you do because of an unusual deficiency of big joys. It's because the little things are more joyful than big things ever could be. And even during the Bronze Age collapse and the Irish potato famine and the fall of Rome and Hurricane Katrina, there were people giggling through their gangrene and dysentery and illiteracy. And they probably weren't giggling at the hope of a distant, brighter future. It wasn't the indomitable human spirit. They were probably giggling at, like, a frame mogging incident. And I'm proud of us for that. If you talked to some kid during the fall of Rome and you told them, just so you know, you're living in what's gonna be a beautiful city someday that's booming and bustling, full of machines on wheels, more bread than you could ever eat, more books than you could ever read, and not even because you don't know how to read, that might give them a big, profound joy to know that it's not all downhill for them and their descendants, but it wouldn't be near as delightful as if you just juggled for him. And I'm not saying you should be out here jester maxing because this can be kind of an embarrassing lifestyle. I'm saying you should be more like the little boy and enjoy your bread and circuses. Who told you you had to stop enjoying things just because they're a recession indicator? Who told you that it was more important to learn about the Strait of Hormuz than buying flowers for your wife today? Who told you you could only get flowers for your wife? You could get flowers for people who aren't your wife. I promise it would make your life much more interesting. So sure, tech elites have managed to manufacture a world where they get to decide who lives and who dies. We live in a zoo, in a thought-terminating panopticon. The apocalypse has thus far abandoned us, and it's hard to imagine anything other than the post-apocalypse sweeping away any dignity the human race has managed to hold on to since the agricultural revolution. We played God with barley seeds, and now we play God with embryos. And you can't stop looking for someone to blame for how unimmersed you feel in whatever life is supposed to feel like. You're so prideful. You pretend that you have the skill to do utilitarian supermath for people in 10 or 20 or 200 years when the greatest good that you could do is just smelling the roses, which are blooming somewhere, and they were blooming in the Bronze Age collapse, and they'll bloom in the post-apocalypse, and it's such a disservice to creation for you not to smell them. I mean, not everyone gets to be around during the fall of a civilization. There are peaceful tribes thriving in Africa, and they don't get to worry about any of this, so you should be grateful you have something terrible to ponder. You can be hopeless and joy max at the same time if you put your mind to it. That was basically the entire lifestyle of the Anglo-Saxons, from whom I am descended, which is probably why I'm such a high-functioning, fearful person. Stop trying to save the world. Stop trying to fight greedy, evil hubris with your own hubris. Fight with humility. Submit to the joy of knowing that you get to die, and everyone else gets to die too. Uniquely and surprisingly and tragically. Don't deny your children the right to die a tragic death. But don't get too obsessive about that, or else you might accidentally join a death cult. This is Brain Rot Bambi signing off. Skibbity, skibbity, yeet. Look look at me, hands in the air like it's good to be alive. And I'm a famous rapper even when the paths are all crookedy. I can show you how to do-si-do. I can show you how to scratch a record. I can take apart a remote control and I can almost put it back together. I can tie a knot in a cherry stem. I can tell you about Leif Erikson. I know all the words to a day Caloris, and I'm proud to be an American. Me and my friend saw platypus. Me and my friend made a comic book, and guess how long it took? I can do anything that I want, 'cause look, I can keep rhythm with no metronome. No metronome. No metronome. And I can see a face on the telephone. On the telephone. On the telephone. Look at me, just calling to say that it's good to be alive in such a small world. I'm all curled up with a book to read. I can make money, open up a thrift store. I can make a living off a magazine. I can design an engine 64 miles to a gallon of gasoline. I can make new antibiotics. I can make computers survive aquatic conditions. I know how to run a business. I can make you want to buy a product. Movers, shakers, and producers. Me and my friends understand the future. I see the strings that control the system, and I can do anything with no resistance, 'cause I can lead a nation with the microphone, with the microphone, with the microphone. And I can split the atom of a molecule, of a molecule, of a molecule. Look at me, drive it and I won't stop. And it feels so good to be alive and on top. My reach is global, my tower secure. My cause is noble, my power is pure. I can hand out 1,000,000 vaccinations or let them all die in exasperation. Have them all heal from their lacerations. Have them all killed by assassination. I can make anybody go to prison just because I don't like them. And I can do anything with no permission. I have it all under my command because I can guide a missile by satellite. By satellite, by satellite. And I can hit a target through a telescope, through a telescope, through a telescope. And I could end the planet in a ha ha ha, in a hee hee hee, in a ha ha ha, in a hee hee hee. I don't want to get demonetized with that word though.